Hello, I'm Robbie Stingle, and thanks for watching. Today, we're going to talk about this. This is a 1985 Vanguard. I got this guitar for about $800 from Chris's Guitars in New York. His website's hard to get through, and you might have to call him directly, but sometimes he gets some really good guitars and he sells them rather cheap. This came with the case and the shipping, and it's a big case. You know, $800. Of course, that was a few years ago, but still. Now, I'm going to start off with some Vanguard history. So, in late 1980, maybe early 81, I don't know for sure because I had friends that worked at Kramer there at the time, but I wasn't working there yet. They made the first Kramer wooden neck guitar, serial number 00001. And that guitar was a Vanguard Randy Rhoads shape. We all know this story about Randy talking to Grover Jackson and drawing the shape on the napkin. And I've always really liked the shape. I think it's a fantastic shape. So Kramer had that for their first production guitar. It was a pink guitar with a Rockinger bridge, and it had a lawsuit Strat copy neck on it. So Kramer didn't release that guitar because Jackson was making it and Jackson would have sued him. So they didn't release it until 1985. So this shape of Vanguard from Kramer was only made in 1985 and 1986. In the beginning of 1985, they had the strap button located where you see it now. In the end of 85, they moved the strap button up closer here. Both are drilled through the neck plate. In 86, they changed the position again to putting it in the wood over here. So if somebody's trying to date a Vanguard, you know, you can tell pretty much exactly what year it is by that. And that's Vanguard in this shape. They stopped this shape after 86. It has the Canadian tilted banana Lacido headstock, non-Lutheran joint, chrome hardware, chrome tool pack. It has a round string retainer. And the bridge is kind of a special Floyd Rose. If you look very closely, you could see strange etch marks on top of the saddles. Not to mention that the bar itself is slightly smaller. Another thing is the thickness of the steel is thinner on this particular Floyd. And I'm going to tell you all about that. So, late 84, early 85, Kramer had Floyd come out with these, like for Gibson Floyd Roses. The base plate had a lot of these itty bitty little springs in it, and the block was not attached. Everything else about the bridge, the base plate, the saddles, everything was the same. Except these saddles were marked differently. They are marked by the scratches on the top. And that tells you which saddle goes where. The reason we did that is because They didn't sell. Nobody wanted the Gibson conversion for Floyd Rose. We had like boxes of them that, we couldn't use. So we put blocks on them and put them on guitars. So if you have one of these, you know that you have, pretty rare Floyd. This came stock with it. I was at the factory at the time. So that's pretty much how that happens. When I got this guitar, it was set up okay. Pretty good, actually. Chris does a decent job. But, of course, I had to take the neck off, redress it. I'm going to mention here that when I worked at the neck room, we would dress the necks in there. And way early on, Eddie had got a guitar from Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly was the one that did the custom guitars after Paul Unkert left. So Billy would do everything the right way. He had his level. He'd measure the fret height, make sure everything was perfectly level. And then give the guitar to Ed. Ed would immediately disassemble the guitar, and he'd come running into the neck room, and he'd tell us, "Look, would you dress this guitar neck? Crank the back bow that neck, then level it a lot, sand the crap out of those frets, and then do the crown lines as thin as you can get them. I mean, almost wiping them out. After that, just go to town with steel wool. I would steel wool necks for, a good at least 10 minutes. I'd go through 3 or 4 pads of steel wool on each neck. So we started doing that to all the necks, and all of a sudden, we didn't have any redresses. They all sailed out the door. We used to get redresses. Oh, it's quacking, or, it's got like almost a buzz, or it's got a slappy Fender sound to it, But doing that got rid of all of it. And you could put this, you could slam the strings down further, because you're actually sanding the relief into the frets. Eddie's thought of this. It's a genius thing. And I've dressed every neck ever since like that, and still do to this day. So, it's a nice guitar. I don't have a lot of building stories with it. I changed the capacitor to the 022 600 volt, capacitor. Now the pickups, the bridge pickup, obviously, and you know what it is, 78 Duncan Custom Shop, wound by our favorite winder of all time, Marcelo Juarez. Of course, this is a Trembucker spacer. They have it in both Trembucker and humbucker spacing, in case you have a slanted pickup. But the neck pickup on this is a Schaller neck pickup. 8.0 output. And they sound great blended. You can hear it on the video before I switch it over to the lead one, where you get the real wild feedback. It has a great sound. I mean, that's tone for me. I'll switch the pickups to have either the bridge or the bridge and the neck. And that gives me a slight warmer tone and eases off on the feedback a little bit. So, you could get feedback out of having 2 humbuckers and 2 pentameters. The secret is not to go for that third pentameter. If you've got a volume and 2 tones or something like that, it's going to suck too much signal strength. It's fine If you're playing through a modeling amp or a solid state preamp, it's not going to really matter that much. The Alnico 2 pickup is not really going to matter that much. Of course, you're not going to get, totally out of hand feedback that I love. And that's because one of my first amps was a 71 Super Lead. And I didn't have wax potted pickups back then. So you got to know, my palm was glued to those strings. And I loved the feedback. And of course, you got to crank the Marshall. And well, with those Marshall heads, I was changing transformers probably every 2 months, 4 months if I was lucky. So there's the story on that guitar. And thank you for all the subscribers. You guys are great. And thank you for watching. And have a nice day and rock on.